What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Football Corner Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremiah Queen, and today it's official. The NFL 2022 season is over. It's done. It's finito. But guess what? We get a recap Super Bowl 57 about how it's one of the greatest Super Bowls ever watched. But of course, before we get started with all the fun stuff, all my viewers out there on YouTube, they'll hit that subscribe button, click that notification bell, so you can stay up to date when I drop new videos on the channel. Also, if you listen to me on a podcast app like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or even Spotify, go subscribe to the podcast. And as always, let's cue it up. So let's jump right into it. Super Bowl 57 was one of the greatest games I ever saw. Probably was top 5 game all season, easily. This game wasn't your 17-10 Super Bowl, low super scoring Super Bowl game. Those games are boring. Anybody who's a big fan of defense is like, oh my goodness, no one wants to watch the Super Bowl and see a defensive scoring game. I never forget what was the Rams and Patriots back in like 2018 when the score ended up being like 13-6, 13-3. That game was horrible. And everybody's like, well, it's a great defensive game. Now stop it. Super Bowl 57 was the complete opposite. It's the highest scoring game in terms of a losing team. The most points by a losing team is 35. Tom Brady used to hold a record when he lost against the Eagles in the Super Bowl back in 2017 when he scored, 33 points in the loss. Jalen Hurts and the Eagles scored 35 points, and it still wasn't enough to beat Pat Mahomes, the reigning MVP, and now two-time Super Bowl MVP. Pat Mahomes broke the MVP curse. We're talking about since the year 2000s, all MVPs up until this point either never made it to the Super Bowl or when they did, they lost it. So we're talking about 21 straight seasons of just guys just gagging on the biggest stage. We're talking about Kurt Warner, Hall of Famer, Tom Brady, Hall of Famer, Peyton Manning, Hall of Famer. Guys like that. Even Sean Alexander. Remember that guy who used to play for the Seahawks, the running back? Even he made it to the Super Bowl as an MVP from the running back position. And he lost against, he was with Matt Hasselbeck, but that was when they would lose against the young Big Ben Steelers with Jerome Bellis in his last years of, being the all-time great running back he is. But back to the Super Bowl 57. This game was electric. The Eagles immediately made their presence known by scoring 7 points. And what I like about the Eagles, the whole game, they kept to what they did best. They didn't feel like they needed to be anybody else but stick to who they were. They're a team who's very aggressive. They're a team who likes to run the ball, and they trust Jalen Hurts on big downs. So whether it's 4th and short, 3rd and short, give Jalen Hurts the ball to run or throw because he's going to make a play. Because Jalen Hurts, as Nick Sirianni said, that's their Michael Jordan. That's their MVP. He's a second-team All-Pro for a reason. He did lead the number 1 team in the NFL in terms of record-wise. He was 14-1 in the regular season, and officially he's 16-2 throughout the whole year, including playoffs. Jalen Hurts balled in that game. I'm going to talk about how I felt in terms of did he play better than Pat Mahomes in the big picture of things. Now, Eagles get to a 14-7 lead. Eagles look like they're about to score a touchdown. Jalen Hurts on a 3rd and 5 had a QB run, tries to switch the ball into a different hand, fumbles it. Nick Bolton, the linebacker for the Chiefs, returns it for a touchdown. Now, people didn't realize this is the touchdown that really determined everything. You gave Pat Mahomes 7 points and he wasn't even on the field. You can't do that at all. If you're going to beat Pat Mahomes, you cannot give him a free 7 points. And that's what happened. The Eagles would go on to score the next 10 points to close out the half, with the score being 24-14. We had Rihanna as the halftime show. She was good. She was amazing. Found out she was pregnant, yada, yada. Let's get to the second half. This is when everything crushed. Everything went bad for the Eagles. The Eagles' defense could get a stop to save their life. If the Eagles' defense stopped them at least once, let me tell you how it went in the second half of the Chiefs. Touchdown, 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 field goal. That's 24 points. The Eagles scored 24 points in the Chiefs scored 24 points in the second half. You can't. They only have 4 possessions. You can't let them score all 4 possessions. Eagles. What happened to that vaunted Eagles defensive line? Pat Mahomes didn't get hit once throughout the whole game. You didn't hit the quarterback. You didn't hit the quarterback. And Hassan Reddick, I've been a big fan of yours because of what you have done for 3 different franchises in the past 3 years. But the right tackle, Wiley, owned you. He owned you. Like, go look at the highlights. Like, when you watch the game tape of what happened in that game, there's multiple times when Pat Mahomes breaks his contain, Wiley's just pancaking Hassan Reddick. You can't do that. Pat Mahomes was on a bum ankle. I know he's the new GOAT, but come on. You can't hit him once. Y'all was trying to break the record for the most sacks all time. Y'all was trying to compete with the 85 Bears, the 84 Bears. Those 2 teams who had great defensive lines and constantly got after the quarterback. Except for the 85 Bears, won a Super Bowl. That's the difference. Y'all lost. And the defense have to put all the blame on the defense. You could say, oh, Jalen Hurts did have the 1 turnover. But Jalen Hurts still gave them 10 points going into the half. They come out in the second half, Jalen Hurts, the score's 24-21, and Jalen Hurts make it 27-21. Then the Eagles defense give up another touchdown. Now it's 28-27. Eagles, one mistake was that they had a punt. And on the punt wasn't a great punt. Kadarius Toney returns it for 65 yards, which is the longest punt return in NFL history. Fun fact, there's never been a punt return in Super Bowl history. So, put that out there. So 65-yard punt is the longest punt in Super Bowl history. They get it down to the 5-yard line. And on back-to-back red zone possessions, 2 guys are wide open. Now I want to put this out there. The Chiefs copied that play from when we played the Eagles. The Jaguars played the Eagles back in week 5, week 6. We ran a little play like that with Jamal Agnew out the backfield. A little post-snap alteration, a little post-snap motion. We did that. So before y'all give the Chiefs all their praises for, drawing up the greatest plays in the red zone, it's a copycat league, everybody. So I think the Chiefs should be thanking the Jaguars for exposing the Eagles early on, and they finally caught on. Jalen Hurts played probably the best game a quarterback can in a losing effort, and that includes Jake Delhomme when he played the Patriots. I thought Donovan McNabb played a great game, or even Brady when he lost against the Eagles in Super Bowl 50. What was it, Super Bowl 52? That game, he also had a great game. But Jalen Hurts, in my opinion, slightly an eye test. You look at the QBR. I think it was like 71 to 90, 96. Pat Mahomes had a 96 QBR. Pat Mahomes had a higher passer rating. But if you look at the eye test, if anybody were to tell me when they watched that game who was the better quarterback that day, not because Pat Mahomes was bad. And don't get me wrong, I think Pat Mahomes is the first time Pat Mahomes actually played into what Andy Reid wanted to. He only threw for 187. Only passed the ball 27 times. They ran the ball 26 times. Great balance. Andy Reid finally found a run game with Isaiah Pacheco. They actually outrushed the Eagles. And the Eagles have always been a top 5 rushing team since Jalen Hurts been on their roster. But Jalen Hurts, 300 yards passing, over 100 passer rating, 4 total touchdowns, 70 yards rushing on the ground. And I swear he had like 3 45-yard passes that were just dimes. Anybody who said Jalen Hurts can't throw, well, he proved it to you. But kudos, Pat Mahomes won Super Bowl MVP. And is this a dynasty? I'll have to say it is. The Chiefs have won 2 Super Bowls in the last 5 years, and they've been there 3 out of the last 4. This is officially a Chiefs dynasty. Okay, so now that it's official, we have a new GOAT, and it's called Pat Mahomes. Let's be more correct. It's Pat Mahomes the second. This guy in 6 years being in the NFL, and not even 6 years, 5 years as a starter. Let's put it in that context. Pat Mahomes, 5 years as a starter, 5-time Pro Bowler. Twice he's been a first-team All-Pro. And for those in the audience who don't know what a first-team All-Pro is, that's when you are voted by the Associated Press as the number one player at your position. So usually, because there's 32 teams, there's 32 eligible guys. And sometimes there's a little bit, but roughly 34, 33, because if you play a certain amount of games, you're eligible for first-team All-Pro. But out of the 32 guys, twice he has been voted the best quarterback of a season. Also, this guy has won 2 MVPs. That's pretty great. 2 MVPs in 5 years as a starter. That's great. Now he's a 2-time Super Bowl champion and a 2-time Super Bowl MVP. So I want to put this in perspective. Take a look at this. I got arguably most people's top 3 quarterbacks all time. Joe Montana, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady. And those who saying, well, Roger Staubach? What about Terry Bradshaw? Come on, man. Stop it. Okay. We're not getting into all the Hall of Fame QBs, whether they should be all time, top 3 all time, et cetera, et cetera. Let's be honest. These are the top 3 quarterbacks. And you could argue I could put in Aaron Rodgers too. But I won't put Aaron Rodgers for his argument. Let's check it off. Joe Montana, first 5 years as a starter. What is it? He's a 2-time Super Bowl champion, 4-time Pro Bowler. That was his resume. That was Joe Montana's resume in his first 5 years as a starter. That's pretty good. But I don't see that he was a first-team All-Pro. I don't see no MVPs. He had Super Bowl MVPs, but I don't see no MVPs in those years, in his first 5 years as a full-time starter. Let's go to Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning's first 5 years as a full-time starter, he just was a Pro Bowler. He didn't make it to the Super Bowl. Peyton Manning didn't make it to the Super Bowl in his first 5 years. And Peyton Manning, you could say he's arguably the greatest, no, not even arguably. He is the greatest regular season quarterback. He has 5 MVPs. He's the greatest regular season quarterback. Now we go down to Tom Brady, which is mostly regarded as the greatest quarterback of all time. His first 5 years, 4-time Pro Bowler. That's pretty good. Give him credit. 3-time Super Bowl champion. That's it. No first-team All-Pros. No regular season MVPs. So I gave you 3 guys. 2 are in the Hall of Fame. Tom Brady's going to be a first-ballot Hall of Famer, no doubt. I gave you 3 guys who are considered the 3 greatest quarterbacks of all time. And Pat Mahomes' resume shatters all 3 of them. It's not even close. Pat Mahomes, at this point in his career, is the greatest quarterback we ever seen. And it's not even close at all. Tom Brady is the closest with his 4-time being a Pro Bowler, 3-time Super Bowl champion. But he was never the greatest quarterback. He was one of the top quarterbacks in those years, but he's never regarded as one of the greatest. And Pat Mahomes is doing it with he don't even have some of the great defenses. Those 49ers had legendary defenses. In 82, that defense was amazing. You want to talk about the 2001 Patriots defense, the 2003 Patriots defense, the 2004 Patriots defense? They're all top 5. Now, the Colts, we don't talk about them. The Colts were offensive juggernaut, and that's, reminiscent of what Pat Mahomes has been. I still think Peyton Manning is the greatest, regular season quarterback of all time. If I had to put out a vote, it would be go Peyton Manning, then Aaron Rodgers, then Tom Brady. Joe Montana being the greatest postseason quarterback. Fight me if you want to. Joe Montana is 4-4 in Super Bowls. Never threw an interception in the big game, ever. Dude's 100%. Tom Brady, 70%. 70% is not bad, but would you rather a C on a test or an A? Back to Pat Mahomes. Pat Mahomes is 2 out of 3 in Super Bowls. That's 66% as of now. And who knows? Pat Mahomes is probably going to get back there a couple more times. And I don't think Pat Mahomes needs to win another Super Bowl in order to eclipse Tom Brady or to be on par with Tom Brady as being one of the greatest of all time. I think Pat Mahomes, one thing he has to do is an individual accolade, win MVP. If Pat Mahomes wins another first-team All-Pro and wins the MVP, he will be up there with He'll be top 10 easily. I think Pat Mahomes is already a Hall of Famer if he were to retire today. There's nothing on his resume that you will say, because his resume is greater than half the Hall of Fame quarterbacks in Canton. He has a better resume than Warren Moon. He has a better resume than Dan Marino, John Elway, Terry Bradshaw, Joe Namath, Steve Young, and these all quarterbacks are legendary. These are all quarterbacks in on the Hall of Fame. Easily has a better resume than Ben Roethlisberger and Eli Manning. Eli Manning, he had 2 Super Bowl champion along with Big Ben. Eli Manning has 2 Super Bowl MVPs, but they have done nothing in the regular season that makes them a top-tier quarterback. He's better than Phillip Rivers. He's better than Drew Brees, and I'm a big fan of Drew Brees. He's still not better than Aaron Rodgers in terms of regular season accolades. Aaron Rodgers is a 4-time MVP. So I would not let people say that Pat Mahomes is greater than Aaron Rodgers. Not yet. But if Aaron Rodgers were to switch up, would you rather have 2 Super Bowls? Yeah, I think Aaron Rodgers would. But Aaron Rodgers should have 1. There's a lot of quarterbacks who don't even get to 1 or even win 1. I mean, we have Cam Newton, Matt Ryan. The list goes on. Donovan McNabb. There's a lot of people. Rich Gannon, MVP. There's a lot of quarterbacks who have never won a Super Bowl. That were still great or good. Dan Marino never won a Super Bowl either. Pat Mahomes is the GOAT. He is our GOAT. Right now, this looks like this is the new Chiefs dynasty. And we'll see if a Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Trevor Lawrence can knock him off the pedestal in 2023. Thank you for watching and listening to the Football Corner podcast. Podcast episodes we drop on Mondays and Fridays, as well as YouTube videos we dropped on Mondays and Fridays. If you enjoy the content of this podcast, click the subscribe button. Click the notification bell. Stay notified. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.